Hi amazing people, welcome back to Designs by Temi. In today's tutorial, we're going to be learning how to cut and sew this beautiful extended peplum blouse with a cut together sleeve. If this seems like something you're interested in, please do not forget to watch to the end of the video. Please do well to like, please do well to subscribe, and please do well to also watch the advertisement. This is a way that you can help the channel grow. For my new viewers, thank you so much for clicking on the video, and for my returning subscribers, thank you so much for always supporting the channel. Without wasting much time, let's get started with today's tutorial. So for today's tutorial, we have my ruler, my scissor, my tape, my chalks, my zipper, 2 meters of my lining, and then 2 meters of my Ankara fabric. I went ahead to fold this into 2, and for the depth of my fabric, I have it to be 20 inches, and the width of my fabric is 17 inches. From the top of my fabric, I'm going to rule out a straight line, which is going to stand as my shoulder line and my starting point. From this starting point, I'll go down to mark my bust point, which is 10 inches. I'll mark the same thing right here. Then I'll also go ahead to mark my waist point, which is at 16 inches. I'll mark the same thing right here. And I'll also go down by 1 inch, which is going to be for my stitching allowance. I'll proceed to use my rulers to connect this point. After connecting, on my shoulder line, which is also the starting point, I'll mark my shoulder measurement divided by 2, which is 7.5, and I'm also going to mark an extra 5 inches, which is going to be for the extended sleeve. On this same line, I'll go out by 3 inches. This is my neck width, and on this shoulder line, I'll go down by 1 inch to get my shoulder slope. I'll connect it directly into the neckline. After marking that, I'll go down to my neck depth for the back, which I'm making use of 1 inch, and I'll connect the point. I'll also take note of the neck depth for the front, which is 3 inches, and I'll connect to the 3 inches of the neck width. Now on my bust line, I'll divide my bust measurement divided by 4 plus an extra 1.5 inches for allowance. On my waistline, I'll divide my waist measurement divided by 4, and I'll add an extra 1 inch, and I'll also add my stitching allowance of 1.5. I'll use my ruler to connect this point. After connecting, on this shoulder line, I'll just take note of what I have here, and I'm going to be marking the same measurement on my bust line. Now I'm going to just use my chalk to just connect it like so to get my armhole curve. And from this point, I'm going to go in by 1 inch and connect into my shoulder slope. After marking, that's what we have. The next thing to do is to take note of my dot. On my waistline, I went ahead to divide my nipple to nipple measurement by 2, which gave me 3.5. I'm marking the 3.5 on my hemline, my waistline, and also on my bust line. And from this bust line, I'm going to go down by 1 inch. I'll then proceed to connect the points. Then for my dot legs, I'm going to be making use of half an inch on both sides. We added 1 inch for the dots, so I'm taking note of half an inch on both sides like so, and I'll connect to the 1 inch point. After connecting, I'll just go ahead to cut out my fabric piece for the front. And on my shoulder line, I went ahead to add an extra half an inch just for joining allowance. I'll then go ahead to set this aside. And for my back pattern, I'm just going to take note of my zipper allowance. I'm making use of 1.5, so I just marked it right here, and I'll rule out a straight line. I'll then bring in the front piece and place it on from the zipper line like so. I'll go ahead to pin this down, and I'm just going to go ahead and cut out exactly what I have right here. Now I'll proceed to set aside the back piece, and I'm going to be working on the front piece. So for the front piece, I'm going to go ahead and trace out this neckline, and then I'll proceed to take note of where the v-neck is going to be stopping, because we have a slit in front. For my slit, I went down by 4 inches, and I'm going to be slitting the front of the v-neck up until the 4 inches. So when you open it up, this is how it looks. Now for the back, I'm going to be marking 0.75 from the zipper line, and I'm going to be connecting this into the back piece. This is to avoid zipper bulging on this top. So I'm just going to go ahead and trim off the excess, and this is what I have for my back piece. So now I'm just going to go ahead and cut out lining pieces for both my front and my back piece. To cut out the front lining, I went ahead to place my fabric on fold, and I'm just going to pin this down and cut this out. After cutting, we're going to proceed to start joining the pieces, and I'll start by joining my front piece to my lining piece. So I'll just go ahead to open up my front piece like so, and I'll also place my lining piece on it, making sure that it's right size facing each other. I'll note where I'm going to be stitching on. So I'll be stitching on the shoulder line around the neck up until the other side, and I'll go ahead and trim off the excess after stitching, and I'll flip it over to the right side, and I'll also go ahead and give it a good press. I'll make sure that I do the same thing for the back piece, and I'll go ahead and give it a good press as well. And after ironing, this is what I have. I also went ahead to stitch in my darts. I also repeated the same thing for the back, and this is how it looks. And now I'm going to proceed to join my front piece to my back piece. I place them right sides on each other, and I'm going to go ahead and stitch on the shoulders by about 1/2 inch on both sides. And after stitching, I'm going to roll in the hem of my sleeves, and I'm also going to stitch the sides. After stitching the sides, this is what I have. Now I'm going to go ahead and open up this piece and flip it over to the right side. And this is how it looks. This is how my sleeves looks after turning it over. So for the length of my top, it's going to be about 26 inches. And right here I have my half length, which is about 16.5, and my top is going to be 26 inches. So I'm just going to minus the 16 inches from the 26, and I'm going to be having 10 inches left, but I'm going to be adding an extra 2 inches, and that is going to be giving me 12 inches. So I went ahead to cut out this long piece. So for the width of my fabric, it's about 12 inches. And for the length, I have it to be on fold, and it's about 29.5. For the back piece, I had it 1.5 inch for the zipper. So what I'm going to do is set the back aside, and we're going to work on the front piece. I'll go ahead and fold it in by 1/2 inch and further fold it in by 1/2 inch. I'll repeat the same thing for the side. And for the back piece, we slitted the fabric open because it has a zipper. So I'm just going to go ahead and repeat the same thing, which is to hem all around the 4 corners. I'll also repeat the same thing on this one as well. I'll fold it in by 1/2 inch and further fold it in by 1/2 inch. So for the front piece, this is how it looks. This is what we're going to be using for the front peplum. So I'm going to go ahead and take note of the middle point, and I'm going to give it a notch. I'll also go ahead and repeat the same thing on my top piece. So I'm just going to go ahead and fold it into 2 to get the midpoint. And after getting the midpoint, I'm just going to go ahead and also notch the midpoint. So now this is how it looks after notching. Now I'm going to bring in my long fabric piece, which is for the front. I'll place the notches on right sides facing each other, and I'm going to pin this down. So to join this to the fabric, I'm going to be stopping right before my stitch, like about 0.25 before my stitch, because you don't want this to extend to the back. I'm just going to open up my seam like so, and I'll be stopping my stitch for the front peplum just right where I marked. Make sure that your stitch does not extend to the back piece, and just pin this down. I'll just stitch along, and on this side as well I'm going to repeat the same thing. I'll open up my seam allowance, and I'm going to stitch up until the very end, but making sure that I don't exceed the stitching to the back. So I'll stitch along and show you. So as I said, just stitch and make sure that you leave a tiny space right here so it doesn't join to the back. And after joining, this is how it looks. As you can see where I stopped my stitch, it's very close to the seam but not exactly on the seam. Now I'm going to go ahead and fold in the raw edges. I'm just going to fold this in like so. I'll also repeat the same thing on this side. After doing that, I'm also just going to attach the peplum extension for the back as well. So for my back piece as well, I'm going to place my fabric right sides on each other like so, and I'm going to be stitching from my zipper allowance, and I'll pin this down right here, and I'll make sure that when stitching I do not exceed the point where I have my seam. So I'm just going to go ahead and pin this down as well. After pinning, I'm just going to stitch all the way till this end, making sure that it does not exceed the seam allowance. I'll repeat the exact same thing right here. I'll bring in my fabric piece. I'll place them right sides on each other like so. And what I'm going to do is to pin this down. I'll also go ahead and stop before this seam allowance. I'm just also going to use my pin to hold this down, and I'm going to go ahead and stitch this on my machine, and I'll show you how it looks. And after stitching, this is the beautiful result that we have. You can see how the extended peplum looks on both sides. I also went ahead to use my serger to serge the raw edges inside my fabric, and this is what I have. And I went ahead to notch my armhole area so it sits flatly on my body. Lastly, I'm going to be inserting my zipper, so I'll go ahead and insert my zipper. I'm going to be making use of this blue zipper, and I'm going to stitch it and bring it back. After stitching, this is how beautiful the top looks, and we've come to an end of today's tutorial. If you find this video very helpful and educative, and if you've actually learned one or two things, please do not forget to like, share. Please do well to leave a comment below. Please do well to watch the advertisements. They do help the channel. And thank you so much for watching up until this end. And I'll see you all in my next video. Bye.